In 1845, the archaeologist Austin Henry Layard was digging through the ruins of an Assyrian city of Nimrud when he uncovered bronze heads and clay amulets, all carved with the same snarling face and bulging eyes. The oldest examples dated back to the 8th century BCE. They belonged to a demon, the same demon that, 1,000 years later, would inspire the Exorcist. But if people in ancient Mesopotamia feared this demon as much as horror fans do today, why did so many of them keep his face hanging in their homes? Welcome to the mysteries of mythology. Pazuzu. The Exorcist scared the hell out of me. Even today it puts modern horrors to shame. But long before Hollywood turned Pazuzu into a face of demonic possession, he was already feared across ancient Mesopotamia. The name Pazuzu shows up in an archaeological record around the 8th century BCE during the Neo-Assyrian period. But most scholars think people were telling stories about him long before that. And his name is strange because most Mesopotamian gods have names you can actually translate. Ishtar, Marduk, Ashur. They all mean something. Pazuzu doesn't. Nobody's cracked it. We don't know what it means or where it came from. He was known throughout Assyria and Babylonia, but he wasn't worshipped like the other gods. There were no grand temples dedicated to him or festivals held in his honor, and no kings claiming his blessing. Instead, Pazuzu belonged to an altogether different part of the supernatural world. Ancient inscriptions describe him as the son of Hanbi, a mysterious figure remembered as the king of the evil spirits. Pazuzu inherited his father's dominion, becoming king of the evil wind demons, supernatural beings believed to ride on the hot desert winds that swept across Mesopotamia. To the Assyrians and Babylonians, powerful winds could mean famine, disease, failed harvests, and clouds of locusts descending without warning. When disaster seemed to arrive on the wind, it was easy to imagine that something unseen had carried it. It was that destructive force that became Pazuzu. So it made sense that his appearance would be as disturbing as the destruction he caused. He had the body of a man, the face resembled a snarling lion or a wild dog, his eyes bulged from their sockets, 2 pairs of wings rose from his back, his feet ended in talons of a bird of prey, and behind him curled the tail of a scorpion. Even his genitals were replaced by a writhing snake. One hand pointed towards the heavens, while the other pointed towards the earth. Scholars aren't sure exactly what that gesture means. It may have symbolized his authority over the world, or perhaps his command over the destructive winds themselves. There's been some unofficial forums that believed he raised his right hand as a gesture of pushing away evil or directing his power to heal and protect. And the lowered left hand represents his destructive capacity, as well as grounding or bringing forces from the heavens down to earth. But take that with a pinch of salt. Everything about Pazuzu's look was designed to inspire fear, which makes how he was treated all the more surprising. Because despite looking like something no one would willingly invite into their home, thousands of people across Mesopotamia chose to do exactly that. The idea of asking a vicious demon for protection sounds completely backwards. Today we usually think of demons as servants of evil, creatures that exist only to deceive, corrupt, and destroy. But that isn't how the people of ancient Mesopotamia understood the supernatural world. For them, the world was filled with hundreds of unseen things. Some were gods, others were spirits or demons, and these beings weren't always divided neatly into good and evil. There were powerful forces that could bring either harm or protection depending on the circumstances or even their mood. Pazuzu certainly wasn't considered nice by any measure, but they also believed that because he ruled over the dangerous forces, he could also keep other supernatural threats under control. It was basically a case of fighting fire with fire. If one dangerous spirit was threatening your family, who better to drive it away than an even more powerful one? If you want to get pop culture, that's perhaps like Alien vs Predator 2004, when the monsters are fighting it out, letting the humans get away. That's how Pazuzu seemed to have been used. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of bronze heads, clay plaques, and small amulets bearing his image. Many were designed to hang inside homes, while others were worn around the neck. Some of these amulets even carry an inscription spoken in Pazuzu's own voice. One of the best known reads, "I am Pazuzu, son of Hanbi, king of the evil wind demons." It's as though the amulet is warning other spirits that an even greater power is already guarding the house. These were protective objects. People display the face of the king of the wind demons the way you might hang a horseshoe over a front door, hoping it would keep other supernatural beings from crossing your threshold. And there's one more demon in particular that families feared above all others. Her name was Lamashtu. If Pazuzu was frightening, Lamashtu was something else. Among the many supernatural beings feared in ancient Mesopotamia, she was one of the most dreaded. Unlike many demons who carried out the will of greater gods, Lamashtu was believed to act entirely on her own. She answered to no one and needed no permissions. She simply brought suffering wherever she went. In fact, she probably would have been a better choice for the Exorcist. Ancient texts describe her as a terrifying female figure with the head of a lion, the teeth and ears of a donkey, long fingers ending in claws, and the body of a woman. She is often shown standing on a donkey, holding snakes in each hand while pigs and dogs feed from her breasts. Every part of the image was designed to make her feel unnatural and weird looking. Lamashtu was blamed for attacking pregnant women and killing infants in their cradles before they'd drawn their first breath. She was also blamed for fevers and sudden illness that struck without warning. Complications during pregnancy were common at the time. Infant mortality was heartbreakingly high. Diseases that are now treatable often prove fatal. The people of Mesopotamia had no way of explaining these events. So when a healthy baby suddenly became ill or a mother died during childbirth, they believed it was Lamashtu. She inspired so much fear that great priests developed elaborate rituals to keep her away. Pazuzu had a specific job in these rituals. Lamashtu was considered an outsider, a demon who answered to nobody and followed no rules. Pazuzu, on the other hand, ruled the winds she needed to travel on. He could intercept her before she ever reached the house. Incantations were recited over pregnant women, protective charms were hung beside beds, and small clay plaques were buried beneath floors or placed near doorways. Some rituals called for figures of Lamashtu to be symbolically driven away on a small boat, carrying her out into the wilderness where she could no longer threaten the family. People believed that the king of the evil wind demons had both the authority and the power to drive Lamashtu away. That is why archaeologists have found so many heads and amulets bearing Pazuzu's face. For most of the modern world, the first encounter with Pazuzu came through horror. In 1971, William Peter Blatty published The Exorcist, a novel about the possession of a young girl. Although the story is fictional, Blatty chose Pazuzu as the force behind the possession. When the film adaptation was released 2 years later, it became one of the most influential horror films ever made. The opening scenes show Father Merrin taking part in an archaeological excavation in Iraq, where he uncovers the statue of a demon. Interestingly, the original film never actually speaks Pazuzu's name. Viewers only see his unmistakable face. It was Blatty's novel, along with the later films in the series, that identify him directly. That film has shaped almost every horror that has come since. Pazuzu has appeared in later entries in the Exorcist franchise, the television series Constantine, and the animated comedy The Venture Brothers. His statue has also become a favourite Easter egg for filmmakers, appearing in films such as Spider-Man Far From Home, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and Legend. His image has even appeared on album artwork by the band Gorillaz. To the people of ancient Mesopotamia, Pazuzu occupied a strange middle ground, too dangerous to worship, too useful to dismiss as a plain enemy. He was a power called upon when something even more dangerous threatened the home. So, do you think a more frightening being has been made in modern media? Let me know in the comments and I'll add it to the backlog.